These are the types of things that often, the people who want to debunk the idea of actual extraterrestrial or interdimensional visitors would say, well, it's probably just, foreign governments doing weird things. This is one of those instances where they're probably right.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other things you can't really explain that way, but that I don't want to get you off on a tangent because I know you'll live in that space for quite a while.
Yeah, I love talking about aliens. I could do that all day.
We've also found out about some of the capabilities, of the Chinese balloon.
That's what I thought we were going to lead the show with.
Well, yeah,
we're learning more about the balloon
mm-hmm.
as we collect it and study it. And it was funny. I was right before the show started. I showed Gabe the headline, and he was like, "Is this now? Like this is breaking news."
Wait, what?
Yeah, we were. This is new. This is new information. This is not the same balloon. And very first reports. And again, this is when something like this happens, news organizations are scrambling to be first and all of that. So
rarely
sometimes
right.
sometimes that early information is not accurate and gets changed. But the very first information was that it was another balloon.
Right.
Is that it was a balloon, and then suddenly the word balloon turned into object. So I don't know. So we don't know if it was a balloon or an object, and hopefully we will find out pretty soon. But what's going on?
Yeah.
A balloon last week flies over the United States. A balloon days later flies over Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's something flying over Alaska again today.
The last report
What's
heard was that there's a wide-ranging information gathering campaign by China right now all over the world. So that's what I heard from I think it was a national security source of some sort, and they were just saying, yeah, it's a wide-ranging campaign by China to do this kind of things. They don't have the same sort of capabilities that we do in terms of satellite surveillance. So this would be kind of the poor man's satellite sort of information. In the same way you can have a U.S. satellite is capable of looking at basically reading license plates. At least that's the amount of capability they've released to the public. Mm-hmm. It's capable of resolution so good that you could read a license plate off of a car from a satellite, which means they could probably read your book that you're reading on the beach.
Wow! Oh my God.
So U.S. is capable of that stuff. I doubt China is. So the best way to gather data in that regard would be to use high altitude. And looks like General's stepping up to the podium.
Yeah, it looks like the Pentagon is about to start their press briefing about this latest object shot down over Alaska territorial waters. So let's go ahead and go live to the Pentagon right now to get the information.
The United States fighter aircraft assigned to U.S. Northern Command successfully took down a high-altitude airborne object off the northern coast of Alaska at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today within U.S. sovereign airspace over U.S. territorial water. On February 9, North American Aerospace Defense Command detected an object on ground radar and further investigated and identified the object using fighter aircraft. The object was flying at an altitude of 40,000 feet and posed a reasonable threat to the safety of civilian flight. U.S. Northern Command is beginning recovery operations now. U.S. Northern Command's Alaska Command coordinated the operation with assistance from the Alaska Air National Guard, Federal Aviation Administration, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We have no further details about the object at this time, including any description of its capabilities, purpose, or origin. The object was about the size of a small car, so not similar in size or shape to the high-altitude surveillance balloon that was taken down off the coast of South Carolina on February 4. Separately, U.S. Northern Command continues their recovery operations in support of the recent takedown of the Chinese high-altitude surveillance balloon. Recovery teams have mapped the debris field and are in the process of searching for and identifying debris on the ocean floor. Debris that's been recovered so far is being loaded onto vessels, taken ashore, cataloged, and then moved onwards to labs for subsequent analysis. And while I won't go into specifics due to classification reasons, I can say that we have located a significant amount of debris so far, that will prove helpful to our further understanding of this balloon and its surveillance capabilities. Of note, due to less than favorable sea states right now, teams will continue to conduct underwater survey and recovery as conditions permit. The department wants to thank our interagency partners from the U.S. Coast Guard, the FBI, and state and local authorities for their continuing assistance and partnership. In other news, and I think this is important that we remember, a lot of folks and people in Turkey and Syria right now are suffering. We want to again express our support for the people of Turkey and Syria as they respond to the deadly earthquakes that struck there earlier this week. In support of ongoing U.S. assistance efforts spearheaded by the U.S. Agency for International Development, U.S. European Command has positioned personnel, equipment, and a range of assets to aid the government of Turkey and its continued search and rescue efforts. This includes the U.S. Navy's George H.W. Bush Carrier Strike Group, repositioning to the eastern Mediterranean Sea to provide logistics, medical, and rotary airlift support if required. Additionally, U.S. Army rotary wing aircraft began flying missions out of Incirlik Air Base in Turkey on February 7 to transport first responders to the most affected populations. And on February 8th, UH-60 Blackhawks transported injured civilians to a local medical facility. U.S. European Command has designated U.S. Naval Forces Europe and Africa as the lead component command overseeing the EUCOM humanitarian assistance and disaster relief efforts within Turkey. To aid in that coordination, U.S. Marine Corps Brigadier General Andrew Priddy, U.S. Naval Amphibious Forces Europe Commander and 2nd Marine Expeditionary Brigade Commanding General arrived in Turkey February 9 to lead military coordination efforts with U.S. agencies involved in the humanitarian aid and disaster relief efforts. We'll continue to provide you with updates as we receive them. EUCOM will be issuing a press release with further details. But again, we offer our thoughts and prayers to the people of Turkey and Syria during this tragic and difficult time. And finally, Secretary Austin welcomed Canadian Minister of National Defense Anand for a bilateral meeting here in the Pentagon today. The Secretary expressed his thanks and appreciation to Minister Anand for the cooperation rendered by Canada in tracking the PRC high-altitude surveillance
Air Force
balloon.
Brigadier General Pat Ryder, Pentagon Press Secretary, and not a whole lot there. Basically, the exact same statement that I just read. We were kind of holding on there for a second to see if they were going to take any questions. If they do, and if there's anything new or important comes out of those questions from the press, we will let you know. But not much more information released there than the statement that I read from John Kirby just a few minutes ago about this latest object just this afternoon shot down by the United States military over territorial waters in Alaska. It's a perfect timing day for us here on Colombo and Katie because we're going to talk to Christian Daytalk live at the White House in just about 20 minutes from now. So having somebody there in the press corps there in the Capitol, maybe we'll be able to get some more information from Christian Daytalk in a few moments when we talk to him. So we will continue to monitor this story and keep you up to speed on everything that's happening. If you're just tuning in, the United States military shot down another object that was flying over territorial waters over Alaska. National Security spokesperson John Kirby put out the briefing just a bit ago that said, I can confirm that the Department of Defense was tracking a high-altitude object over Alaska airspace in the last 24 hours. The object was flying at an altitude of 40,000 feet and posed a reasonable threat to the safety of civilian flight. Out of an abundance of caution, the recommendation of the Pentagon, President Biden ordered the military to down the object, and they did, and it came inside our territorial waters. So, one thing that Brigadier General Pat Ryder just did say is that they don't have any more information. So they say it posed a reasonable threat. That's the reason they had to shoot it down. Reasonable threat to
commercial
flight.
Yeah.
So because of its altitude, I guess.
Well, and it probably
But they
crossed
have no
around
idea.
a no-go zone,
Right.
for other aircraft.
Right. But they have no idea, or at least they're not saying yet, what was inside of it, what it was doing.
Well, one thing they know for sure is that they're not going to let it roam. I mean, you can't
Not this time.
You can't
Katie,
let it roam.
That's a great point. Why do we shoot this one down the second we see it, and we let last week's go all the way across the country?
I think the proximity between what happened last week and what happened today is way too close for comfort. And who knows if the public was not privy to the spy balloon that happened last week, who knows what would have happened this week, if they would have shot it down or if they wouldn't have. We don't have enough information to determine that yet. But I say, for optics reasons, you can't even take 1 second delay when you see something else in the air after what happened last week and the backlash that you witnessed. No matter what it is, whether it be a weather balloon or a spy balloon or something gathering intel, you've got to act quickly because the public and the backlash, they can't take that again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's almost like they realized they did the wrong thing last time.
Amazing. Occasionally, apparently, once in a while, the administration learns from its many mistakes. But one of the things, though, that if I had my druthers, we wouldn't know about either of these things. That it would have happened. Like the minute it breached our airspace, it would have got shot down. The remnants picked up, sent over to Langley for study, and we wouldn't be any the wiser. We would be sleeping safely under the blanket of protection we're supposed to be living under in a country with as powerful a military as we have right now. Mm-hmm. And if something came of it, if it's like, hey, you know what, China's been, that's when you make the briefing, because, now the administration is going to take some sort of punitive action against the other country, and you have to explain to the American public why. And then you bring it out. It's like, hey, by the way, guys, you didn't know this, but a few months ago, China sent over this balloon. We found out that they uncovered some stuff that we didn't want them to know, so now they are under sanction, and this is unacceptable, and the America's not going to take it anymore. Everybody would be cheering, yay, F you, China. It's basically how it would go. But right now it's, hey, what's that? Yeah, I don't know. Let it go. Yeah. And now we're wondering, what do you mean let it go? And now you have the backlash. And now the next time something shows up, like what happened now, they're forced to make an announcement about it. Mm-hmm. Because he's like, hey, by the way, the same thing that happened before happened again. But look, we did the right thing, guys. Yeah. Please clap.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a big mess. And like I said a minute ago, it's a week ago, balloons weren't even in our,
part of the conversation.
Why are we talking about balloons?
Now we've had,
it's not even anybody's birthday.
Now we've had, this is still being classified as an object, although first reports did say it was a balloon. We'll see if that is true or not. But an object today, a balloon last week over the United States, a balloon last week over Latin America. Like, what is going on? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, the balloons are everywhere. I wonder if they were there before and we just didn't know, like you were mentioning, Gabe, or if this is a brand new thing being done by the Chinese government, although we don't know anything about even the origins of this object today, so we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves.
I would be happy not knowing. I would be happy not knowing. I think at first, whenever you said that, Gabe, I was like, no, I do want to know. But now that you explain it, I'm like, oh, no, I'd actually be happy not knowing.
Yeah.
It's all right for me not to know.
I mean, it's a tricky, it's a tough call.
Mm-hmm. Well, if it turns, think about it this way: if it turns out to be a nothing burger, it's like, oh, okay, it actually was a weather balloon. Then there's no skin off our nose. We didn't know about it. It got shot down. They studied it. It turned out to be not a big deal. Our relationship with China is status quo.
Yeah,
we don't have to have a week-long conversation about what's going on and why the sovereignty of our nation is not being respected.
Right.
Yeah,
I get it.
If it turns out to be something,
yep.
then we get to hear after the fact when our nation actually knows what they're doing. They know what it is and they know what actions they're going to take. But because right now I'll say it this way. We like when leadership is decisive and it has reasons for what it's doing. We don't like having to ask questions of people who are supposed to be in charge.
You're right.
Yeah, I understand the argument completely. It's a tough one for me because, if you find out after the fact that, wait a minute, this happened before? Wait a minute, you knew about this and you didn't tell us and we're still like going to, vacationing in China and like doing all these other things. Like you didn't tell us that they were trying to spy on us. It's a tough. I completely understand. Completely understand the validation of that argument. But for me, it's a tough one. Yeah. I kind of.
You want to know more sooner than later. Like, I would rather know when they know.
Yeah.
Something real.
So weird way to start the show. That's Gabe Pfeiffer from the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show. He joins us every Friday, and he is going to stick around. As I mentioned, we're also going to talk to Christian Daytalk at the White House. Perfect day for that here in just a few moments. It's Friday, so we will get the weekend forecast from Channel 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton for you. That is going to be at about just a little after 3 o'clock. Usually he's right before 3 o'clock. This week he's going to be just after 3 o'clock is when we are going to get that forecast. And, of course, we'll end the show, hopefully, with a little Friday fun time. Let's regroup. We'll get back to the situation happening with the balloons and the object shot down today when we talk to Christian Daytalk a little bit later on. But there's some local headlines that I want to run by you guys before we miss our opportunity. Senator Josh Hawley has proposed a legal age to allow kids on social media.
Whoa.
Legally have to be a certain age to get on not just Facebook, Twitter, but that would be YouTube, all social media.
Wow.
Yeah, very interesting bill. Want to get your thoughts on it. I'll explain it to you, and want to get everybody's opinion on that and more in just a moment here on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Colombo and Katie. Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. Talk radio made in St. Louis for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL.
Our responsibility
News, analysis, and
to
opinion
provide updated guidance.
at 101.9, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com.
Hey, Pocket Watchers. By now, I know you heard that the IRS is hiring 87,000 more agents. What does that mean? More collections, more audits. If you have a tax problem, unfiled tax returns, a large tax bill that you can't handle, give my office a call, 314-776-9076. I have years of experience of representing clients before the IRS to resolve tax problems. So stop hiding. Sticking your head in the sand is not going to make this go away. Give my office a call, 314-776-9076. Thornton Advisor Group is here to help you. Set up your free consultation to get an understanding of what's going on with your IRS case. Stop ignoring those letters. Give my office a call, 314-776-9076, or visit us online at thorntonadvisor.com.
Hey, it's Katie. We here at News Talk STL really appreciate the growth in our business during our first 18 months since we signed on the air. We appreciate the great local businesses like Save Money with Doug Voss, Crypto World, and the Natural Institute of Health that have all become part of our family of advertising partners. If your business is interested in becoming part of the News Talk STL family, simply send an email to info@newstalkstl.com.
1019 941 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Friday, Zach Smith at 425 on Rogue Prosecutors. Nate Lucas on The Big Game. Patrick Ishmael at 525, Biden's blundering economy.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
I'm sitting in a tree, swinging in the breeze. I'm looking at the
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. So there's another object flying over the United States, just shot down this afternoon by the United States military over territorial waters in Alaska. Not a whole lot of details out about that yet. We are going to go back live to the nation's capital and talk to Christian Daytalk, White House correspondent with the Washington Examiner, here in just about 10 minutes from now. So keep it here for that. We'll get the latest from him at that time. I'm Tony Colombo. Of course, Katie Fitzpatrick is my partner, and Gabe Pfeiffer from the morning show. And his last moment on the air before he takes his Hawaiian vacation.
Jealous. So
Thank
jealous.
you. What a crazy day to leave on.
Right?
As
Exactly.
news is
It's like,
breaking.
oh my gosh, everything's breaking loose, and I'm going to
Listen,
completely unplug.
As
Yay.
you're flying,
Hey,
look out the window.
Yeah.
make sure.
Look for balloons. See if you spot any balloons
As,
on your
as
trip.
we're sailing across the Pacific Ocean here, I'm just like, hey, what's that? It's on the horizon. There's a white thing. So.
Super interesting piece of legislation being proposed by our very own Senator Josh Hawley that I want to get your guys' thoughts on. Senator Josh Hawley has proposed a legal age to allow kids on social media. He's pushing for legislation that would create a legal age for children to be allowed on social media, arguing tech companies have engaged in harmful practices that put profits over protecting kids. Hawley has long been a major critic of social media platforms and tech companies in general. He is one of many people in the United States government that have called for the all-out ban of the Chinese-owned TikTok. Hawley proposed enforcing a minimum age for social media use at 16 and required social media companies to verify the ages for their users. Senator said, quote, "For me, this is about protecting kids, protecting their mental health, protecting their safety. There's ample evidence to this effect that big tech companies put their profits ahead of protecting kids online. The whole aim of this agenda is let's do something real and tangible that is going to protect kids online and get power back to the parents." Hawley says that his bill would have bipartisan support, saying, quote, "I've had a lot of conversations with Democrats across the aisle and over the years about this topic in general and about the different pieces of this. I don't see this as a partisan issue. I mean, this is about protecting kids from the irresponsible big tech companies." So, Katie, what do you think? An age limit on social media?
I like that being determined by the social media platform, which is what I grew up with. I grew up with Facebook it was the beginning of Facebook, and Facebook said you are not allowed to access Facebook until you were 17 and older, which of course at 15 you're like, oh, okay, I'll just make up my own age or whatever.
What
the case
number
may
is
be.
that
Yeah,
supposed
what
to
number
be?
is that? And MySpace was the same concept. Yes, I grew up in the MySpace era, but that was the first introduction, I think, to social media for me. Same type of deal. You had to be a certain age before you could log on and create your page and do all that fun stuff. YouTube used to have an age limitation. I am for the platform setting those boundaries, even though we all know they're not going to. Yeah. I don't necessarily know. I think this is in good. I think Josh Hawley is trying to do something good for a beneficial thing for kids and for families, but I don't like the federal government setting boundaries like that for use.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. It feels weird to have the federal government try to inject itself into this. But, I always like to challenge my own gut level reactions on these things by playing the devil's advocate. And I'm just wondering, because the research has gone into this to show that kind of the dopamine reactions that you get from social media, especially in its current incarnation, is akin to drug use. So should then the federal government be treating social media like a drug, such that basically you have to be of a certain mental capacity in order to deal with the drug that is social media? I mean, that's
good point. And
that's a valid question in my mind. I was like, holy crap! I surprised myself with my devil's advocate surprised me. I was like, wait, what, you're challenging my libertarian streak here.
I'm as smart as everybody says I am.
I am smart. I got big brains.
I got big brains. whole can of peas. No, I do wonder about that, because we've seen real issues with kids these days dealing with the dopamine, or in some cases dopamine starvation that they get on social media platforms, and it's created this sort of it's rife with mental illness now. It's not just from the kids who can't get the engagement that they need, or which is the equivalent of social interaction these days. It's from kids who upon watching what do you call them? TikToks about people with mental illnesses. Suddenly they start developing those mental illnesses. It's a phenomenon they've seen, the social contagion of social media.
They start to mimic it.
They start to mimic it.
Yeah.
Because it's That's a famous person.
Yeah, they see
They're
it.
famous,
Yeah.
and they get likes and all these other things because of their mental illness. So even if just subconsciously they're adopting that
The tick,
the
nervous
ticks
tick,
and
yeah.
all those things. So maybe it is time for some government entity. Maybe and it would be a federal level thing because the internet is everywhere. For them to come and regulate that and say, well, okay, parents, you can let your kid have it, but you have to be the one to sign off. And maybe that's kind of, I think, where Josh Hawley was going with that when he said give power back to parents.
What do you think I'm going to say?
No, I think your libertarian is going to override all other things and is going to say, "F you, federal government. Don't tell me what to do."
Absolutely, you nailed it. Absolutely, I don't like this whatsoever. I don't think it should be up to the social media platforms. I don't think it should be up to the federal government. Hawley says in his statement, this is going to protect kids and give power back to parents. Parents, we already have the power. We already have that power.
Yeah.
We don't need to be given back any power.
Yeah, you're the one who buys the device.
The parents have the power to stop their kids from getting on social media or having access to social media, especially very young kids. I know that once they're teenagers, you could make the argument that, oh, you don't know what they're doing when they're out with their friends or they're sneaking around, but you can keep young kids off of social media as a parent. You have that power. You don't need it given back to you or anything from the federal government. And for me, it's a perfect example of, even if you agree with this sentiment, if you allow the federal, if you say that it's okay for the federal government to set standards and guidelines and rules in this area because we all agree, well, then you just give them, it makes it a lot easier for them to stick their nose in another area that maybe you don't agree with, but it's like, well, wait a minute. You guys let us do it before, so this is our job now. Yeah, not for it whatsoever.
That's where my inner libertarian went exactly. It's like, I don't want the federal government to have this power.
I agree with everything that you said and Katie that you said about the dangers of social media and the mental health impact that it has on children and all the negative influence that it can cause. I agree completely with that. But I don't expect the federal government to be the one that has to take care of my kids' mental health and has to be the ones the mom in the room that comes in and says, here, you don't know what's good or bad for you, so we'll take over and make sure that you're okay. As a parent, I can handle that myself.
And it's one of the only areas right now that is still like the wild, wild west. I mean, the internet, it definitely has been more tampered down and more tamed as the years go by because we see what we can do with the internet. Don't get me wrong. And in some ways, completely beneficial for it to be tampered and controlled. But there's still, social media is like the perfect example of the only thing left in society right now where it is like, well, what do we do? Like this, it is untouchable. We don't know what to do with this thing. In some instances, we have created this monster, but we're getting into these areas right now where it is like, okay, who is going to control the situation? Does it even need to be controlled? And I don't know any other part of society. I don't even know any other part of life that there's this much question and there's this much unknowing about then what is going to happen with the internet and who is going to win this battle with big tech, social media, and the control over that area.
Totally agree. Totally agree. But I am not going to trust the federal government, Democrat or Republican, with making those decisions on right and wrong for my family. All right. We got to go a little bit faster on this one because we got to get to Christian Day Talk, which is not fair because if you think that one was controversial, check this. Check this out. The Missouri House this week voted against banning minors from openly carrying firearms on public land without adult supervision. The proposal to ban children from carrying guns without adult supervision failed by a vote of 104 to 39 in the Missouri House this week. So it's not law. This is just the vote in the House, but that's an overwhelming vote. What do you think about the idea of there not being a law against a minor open carrying in public on public land.
It makes me think that there is more to that bill than that aspect of it that got voted down.
So at first blush, I'm sure everybody is picturing a 5-year-old carrying a handgun
Right.
at the playground.
Right.
Because what do you mean kids don't have to have adult supervision to carry a gun? But how about this? What if I give you this one? What if it's a 16-year-old that is driving over to their grandparents' house to go hunting with him? He's riding his bike to his grandparents' house, and the gun is
slung over his shoulder.
Or packed away, or whatever it may be. So, that's a different story. Why shouldn't that 16 or 17-year-old minor be able to go even go out and hunt? I'm on my way over to my uncle's house to go hunting, and that's why I'm carrying my gun. So there's more layers to it than you would think. But when you read that, you can feel the controversy dripping off of it.
Yeah.
Katie, your eyes are like,
oh yeah, that scares the tarnation out of me. All of it all scares me because I think that, I'm not saying that I'm not a Second Amendment person. I'm all for it. I just think that the minute that in society, I think we are trying, from the left and the right, we are trying to take away what it means to be a kid and give them a full responsibility like a gun, or let's say letting them choose their gender. And when we have those kinds of conversations surrounding minors with something as heavy as being like, can you work a gun? Do you want to have a top or a bottom surgery? It's like, holy cow, pump the brakes. At 16, I was afraid to kiss a boy.
Right.
Like, what are we doing? Like, at 16, I was trying to figure out how to figure out algebra. We need, let the kids be kids for a little bit longer.
Now, the just to play devil's advocate, the argument is just because the law says it's not, that it's legal, it doesn't mean that you have to. It's not encouraging you to. It's just saying you can't ban people from doing it. So it's not like saying, oh, you've got to carry a gun everywhere you go, even when you're 6 years old. This one deserves more discussion and debate, because there should not be, obviously, small children carrying guns, going to the playground or whatever, or just walking around in any fashion on public lands, especially without adult supervision. But at the same time, when it's such a blanket statement like minor, then, like I said, I can come up with multiple scenarios where a minor would be carrying a gun without an adult around. That would be a completely normal, okay situation. So there needs to be some more details.
And one of the things that, you brought that up, and it reminded me that back in the day, it used to be commonplace, didn't it? The 16-year-old, they're going hunting after school, so in their truck is their hunting rifle, right? That used to be normal. So I'm wondering if people are still, kind of hearkening back to those days. And the further back you go, the younger the responsibility actually was there. So it's kind of interesting how different our society is now than it was, ages ago. A 20-year-old is not responsible enough to drink, and you can see them having way too much fun in college, but a 20-something wrote the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, golly.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Good point.
like the 20-somethings built the world 200 years ago, but now they're absolute morons. Evolution, people. It's evolution.
That is Gabe Pfeiffer, who you can normally hear every morning as part of the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show, but he is going to be gone for the next week or so because he's going on vacation. Have a great time, buddy. Send me as many pictures of blue water as you can. I love to see that kind of stuff, but have a great time. I hope you get a chance to unplug, and man, who knows what'll be going on when you get back.
The place will be on fire, I'm sure.
But don't worry about it in the meantime. Thanks for putting a little overtime this afternoon before you head out on your trip.
Absolutely.
Great to see you, buddy.
God bless you guys.
Of course, you can listen to Gabe every morning, like I said, and you can also follow Gabe on his YouTube channel, St. John the Philosopher on YouTube. All right, we are going to go back to the nation's capital and see if there is any more information, get the latest on this newest situation of the object being shot down just today over territorial waters in Alaska by the United States military. Also, there's more information coming in as we learn about the spy balloon from last week that is now at least partially in our possession and being studied by the United States military. So we will get an update on all of that and more when we go live to the White House and Christian Day Talk in just a moment here on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
I'm the one who will satisfy your need.
Hey, it's Katie, reminding you to subscribe to our show podcast so you never miss anything that happens here at News Talk STL. Get our podcasts every day on the show pages at newstalkstl.com or just subscribe to your favorite shows on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, or anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Hi, Susie Moore here. American culture is at a crossroads. My friend and coworker at Red State, Kira Davis, has written a new book called Drawing Lines: Why Conservatives Must Begin to Battle Fiercely in the Arena of Ideas. She challenges conservative Americans to stop retreating from culture and helps you to think critically through the pressing cultural issues of our day and offers practical advice and solutions. It's time for conservatives to make themselves uncomfortable and get engaged, get inspired, get moving, and get winning. Pick up a copy of Kira's new book, Drawing Lines, available at Amazon, faithfultexts.com, or wherever books are sold.
Packages start at $29.99 a month with signed agreement. Restrictions apply. Speak to a representative for complete offer details. See Vivint.com for license details. Terms and conditions apply.
Homeowners, if you're looking for the best in home security and smart home technology at a price you can actually afford, we have great news. Now you can get Vivint's award-winning home security systems starting at about $1 a day. U.S. News and World Report has recognized Vivint as the best professionally installed home security system of 2022. And right now, you can get Vivint's home security technology for about $1 a day. Plus, get free professional installation from a licensed technician. Protect your home and loved ones for as low as $1 a day. Call right now for your free home security consultation.
800-561-3405. 800-561-3405. 800-561-3405. That's 800-561-3405.
Talk radio made in St. Louis.
Very excited for what you guys are doing for the St. Louis community.
For St. Louis. Relevant local talk.
Saying what we are thinking.
This is News Talk STL.
You guys are awesome. I love you. And it's a tremendous honor to be on the station.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Thanks for covering the local angle.
Oh, people, this is America.
We better open our eyes.
Really local, really good.
News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com. Free speech is alive and well in America.
So what's going on?
Right here.
To me, this looks like the run-up to World War II.
News Talk STL.
They're playing with fire. Democrats are destroying the country.
News, analysis, opinion. Steve Templeton's Weekend Forecast, brought to you by Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor for all your roofing needs. Visit ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER Roofing.com.
Puts my heart and soul in the air.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Typically at this time on a Friday afternoon, we would be getting the weekend forecast from Channel 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton, but we are going to get that weekend forecast in just a few minutes, just after 3 o'clock instead of just before 3 o'clock this week. So keep it here. We will talk to Steve and get you all that information here momentarily. But first, as we mentioned, perfect timing to have Christian Day Talk, White House correspondent with the Washington Examiner, back on with us. Christian, it's always crazy when we talk to you, but today is an extra special day happening with all the news happening there coming out of the Capitol. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. How's it going?
I'm good, Tony. You guys caught me on a good day. It's been a little slow, you could say, to the Union week, but we had a little bombshell drop just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, we sure did. So the press briefing just wrapped up. We did air part of that press briefing from the Pentagon earlier. Is there been any more details released other than we shot down an object over Alaska?
That's what we know right now. Obviously, the sort of temperature in the room would point to China, this being another part of their surveillance apparatus. But John Kirby was talking to reporters, and he made it clear that this, A, was significantly smaller than the balloon that was shot down this past weekend. On top of that, it's not a balloon. We don't know what it is. The fighter pilots who were surveilling the object itself overnight were able to confirm that it was not manned, but we're not really sure what this thing is specifically. I mean, technically, we would have to qualify this a UFO at the moment, just because we have so little information and we haven't been able to salvage through the wreckage yet to sort of parse together what exactly this thing is and who exactly it belongs to.
So the origin of it is not even known yet. And as I mentioned earlier, initial reports at the very beginning were describing this object as another balloon, but it immediately got changed to the word object. Do we know anything about that initial classification or why that report would have been made? Is there any indication that this is indeed another balloon, or is it just ambiguous totally at this point?
I'm not sure specifically if we can call it a balloon, but I do think the one reason John Kirby sort of walked back a little bit is because of how different this thing was than the balloon we saw over Montana last week, which again was shot down off the Carolina coast on Saturday. This was much smaller. It was about the size of a small car versus a large bus in that previous flying object. Second of all, this appeared to have no propulsion system. The other balloon was able to move at will, which sort of automatically was a red flag that this wasn't just a weather balloon like China was saying it was. It was something more advanced. So I think they're calling this an object because while it might have some type of floating flight system like a balloon, a hot air balloon would, they don't want to put it in the same category just because it's so different. And again, we don't know it, even if this came from someone else. It might have been belonged to another nation. It might have been a legitimate weather balloon, but tensions are running so high in the capital right now, and given how it was flying in that sort of 40,000 foot up range, it did pose a danger to commercial airliners. That's exactly where they fly, 30 to 40,000 feet.
Wouldn't that be just Joe Biden's administration to shoot down the actual weather balloon and let the spy balloon go all the way across the country? Not saying that's happened. I'm just saying that would fit just perfectly. Katie has a question. Christian, go ahead.
Christian, so have we heard from, or has anyone asked John Kirby or Jean-Pierre or, Biden, have we heard that it was a regrettable decision? It was a decision that they looked back and said, wrong choice to allow the Chinese spy balloon basically to cross for 5 days or the entire U.S. before we shot it down? Has anybody said, oh, that was a decision that we could have we should have done something more or further about that? Or have they just kind of been like, no, we did what we should have done?
The administration is staunchly defending their timeline. This is a question that has come up multiple times. Jackie Heinrich from Fox actually asked it today. Why did you shoot this object down now before it crossed over to the continental U.S. compared to last week's situation? And the way it's been described to me is, we were, not prioritizing this as a legitimate threat until it actually started hovering over U.S. military installations and actively surveilling them. On top of that, once it gets over, again, highly populated areas, we didn't know if there were explosives on this thing. We couldn't tell specifically how large it was and just what the damage would be from it impacting the ground. Again, we don't want to put lives at risk. And luckily, because they could sort of track where the path would be, they were able to put in anti-surveillance measures over sensitive sites. Again, that doesn't account for what the balloon was doing before we enacted that protocol. But that's the main difference, the main rationale why they waited until it was over the ocean to be shot down. Again, I think that's sort of telling on themselves just based on the reaction we saw today. We picked up this thing late last night. There were flybys by the Pentagon, and then President Biden ordered it shot down this morning. It's a very truncated timeline compared to what we saw with the first balloon last week.
Got a few minutes left here with Christian Daytalk, White House correspondent with the Washington Examiner. And yeah, until about an hour ago, Christian, I thought that this conversation was going to be more about the State of the Union than it was about flying objects in the air. But before we run out of time, I do want to touch base with you, at least on one big issue that came out of the State of the Union. Obviously, though, there was a lot of contention that came out of the State of the Union, but the one biggest moment was when the president accused Republicans of wanting to allow Social Security and Medicaid to sunset or cut those programs, and that was the big, the big fracas that erupted there in the chamber after that. That has been pretty much proven to be false by fact checkers across the board, even in liberal organizations like CNN. However, just yesterday, I believe, the White House put out another press release detailing the president's travel. I think he was traveling to Florida or something yesterday. You could correct these details. But the briefing said that he was going down to talk to Americans about defending Social Security and Medicare, programs that Republicans are trying to cut. I thought that we had gotten clearly to the bottom of that issue over the last few days, but the White House continues to now, I guess, triple down on what has been clearly fact-checked as untrue. Has there been any questioning of the White House or explanation from the White House given why they continue to tout what is seemingly an untrue fact?
There's certainly been questions about it, but I don't think the White House is going to change course specifically, and we could go back to the midterm election because this type of rationale is working. There's nothing that specifically prevents the White House from fudging the numbers or, crossing the line between misinformation and disinformation. That being said, this is supposed to be the most transparent administration in history. Again, it's a little telling that they keep going back to the well on this one specific topic. Now, I do think it's interesting that we saw the revelation, or I guess sort of the recounting of President Biden's own attempts to sunset Social Security back in the 1970s. He wanted to drop it to a 4-year reauthorization.
And 90s.
That's very
and
similar
90s,
to what some of these Republicans are offering. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that was a long, convoluted answer, but because the message seems to be resonating, whether or not it's factually accurate or not, they're going to stick with it. And it does sort of undercut that most transparent administration in history frame that they want to see themselves in.
Especially when the fact checkers are out so clearly and publicly saying that is just not true. And we've gone through the details of exactly what he was talking about and how misrepresented that statement was. And you can go back and listen to the podcast if you want to get all of those details. We're almost out of time, Christian, but overall, in general, the White House's reaction to the State of the Union, do they feel like the president did a great job? Do they feel like they got their message across to the American people? What was the White House's reaction after the speech was given?
Well, publicly, they won't come out and say this, but the officials that I've spoken to, Tony, are about as happy can be. Again, taking all the politics out of this from a pure messaging standpoint, President Biden delivered a strong speech for him, and he was able to sort of play off those jeers, the hecklings, interruptions, whatever you want to call them, from some Republican members in the room, and sort of use them to his advantage. He didn't necessarily seem rattled. He definitely didn't get blown off topic. And just based on how he appeared in Wisconsin on Wednesday and in Florida yesterday, he had an extra pep in his step. It's clear emotions are flying high, and they're very pleased with the outcome from Tuesday night. Again, doesn't matter what the facts are, doesn't matter what the politics are.
Yeah.
This is purely their reaction to the optics.
That is Christian Daytalk, White House correspondent with the Washington Examiner. Really appreciate your time. As always, have a great weekend, and look forward to talking to you again next week, my friend. Take it easy.
Thanks, y'all. Take care.
You can follow Christian on Twitter at Talk Radio, TOC Radio. You can also read his articles on the Washington Examiner website and our website, newstalkstl.com. All right, still plenty to go here on Colombo and Katie this Friday afternoon. We will bring you the weekend forecast from Channel 4 Chief Meteorologist, easy for me to say, Steve Templeton in just a few minutes, and we're going to end the show with a little Friday fun time with a special guest, Jason Nelson from the Somebody to Love Queen Tribute Band. We've been telling you about that great show coming up on the 18th. Jason's going to join us live in studio in just a few minutes as well. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
It would make my life so complete.
Have you been floored? Not until you've gone to Michael's Flooring Outlet. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years. You want variety? Michael's has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Save money and get quality at Michael's. Plus, your installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's. You can shop in store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home. Check out everything that Michael's has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Stephen Moore from Freedom Works.
You heard him talk about how he's reduced the deficit by $1.4 trillion. What he did was he came in and he increased the deficit by $2.8 trillion in his first year, and then the second year it got cut all the way back to $1.4 trillion. If you gain 50 pounds one year and then the next year you gain another 25, you say, "Oh look, I'm reducing my weight."
Weekday mornings, 5:30 till 9
on News Talk STL.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at
newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. At a Pentagon briefing, Press Secretary General Pat Ryder on what happened over Alaska.
At the direction of the President of the United States, fighter aircraft assigned to U.S. Northern Command successfully took down a high-altitude airborne object off the northern coast of Alaska at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today within U.S. sovereign airspace over U.S. territorial water.
The object, roughly the size of a small car, and was in the air at 40,000 feet. Fighter pilots visually examined the object and ascertained that it was not manned. Just last Saturday, U.S. fighter jets shot down a suspected Chinese spy balloon off the coast of South Carolina. Also at townhall.com, the White House says President Biden will travel to Poland later this month.
He will meet with President Duda of Poland to discuss our bilateral cooperation, as well as our collective efforts to support Ukraine and bolster NATO's deterrence.
Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says the president's trip will take place February 20th through the 22nd, just ahead of the one-year anniversary of Russia's invasion. Meanwhile, the president wrapping up political attacks as he nears a final decision on a 2024 re-election bid. White House correspondent Greg Cluxton with that report.
All week long, the president has been warning that Republicans in Congress want to pass a bill cutting Social Security and Medicare.
Well, I guarantee you, it will not happen. I will veto it.
There is no such legislation being considered, and if there were, it would not pass the Democrat-controlled Senate. So the president's warnings are widely seen as laying the groundwork for an expected re-election campaign announcement this spring. Greg Clugston, the White House.
And on Wall Street, stocks finishing mixed. The Dow was up 164 points, but the Nasdaq dropped 71. More at townhall.com.
And it's Prager here. Sue and I mean it. Dogs are part of our family. We love Otto and Snoopy so much. There's nothing quite like their loyal companionship. So we provide them with Rough Greens. In fact, I just talked to my wife about it because we want them to be healthy and we want them to be with us as long as possible. That's true. I know Sebastian Gorka feels the same way.
The Pragers and I couldn't agree more. Our pups, Killian and Leia, rely on us to provide what's best for them. And naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black has packed Rough Greens full of vitamins, minerals, digestive enzymes, omega oils, and more that supplement their food in a way that has shown us great results. Trying out Rough Greens is an easy yes, recommended by me, Dr. G.
Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black here, and I'm so proud that the Pragers and Sebastian Gorka have entrusted their dog's health to Rough Greens. I'm so confident that Rough Greens can help your dog, I'm offering you a free Jumpstart trial bag. Just cover the shipping. Yes, your dog's food is dead food, but you can bring it back to life with Rough Greens. Go to ruffgreens.com.
A new ATF rule has Texas up in arms.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton filed a lawsuit against the Biden administration over a new ATF rule regarding pistol stabilizing braces. The ATF rule claims that if the braces are used, the firearms classification is changed to that of a short-barreled rifle, which must be registered. Paxton says the requirement is an infringement on Second Amendment rights, and the ATF is acting outside their authority. Tasha Stevens reporting.
A driver has been arrested after an SUV crashed through a fence at the Texas State Capitol in Austin. Texas Department of Public Safety reporting the vehicle was driven through the fence Thursday in Austin. The vehicle was then driven up the south steps of the building before stopping. Unspecified charges are pending against the driver of that vehicle. No other information immediately released. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. Patrick Mahomes has won his second MVP award ahead of the Super Bowl. Ken Lorman with details.
Mahomes dominated the voting for the AP NFL Most Valuable Player Award. Mahomes, who also won it in 2018, easily outdistanced Jalen Hurts, receiving 48 out of 50 first-place votes from a nationwide panel of media members who regularly cover the league. He earned 490 points to 193 for Hurts.
Mahomes and the Chiefs face Hurts and the Eagles in Super Bowl 57. Six-time All-Pro offensive lineman Joe Thomas and lockdown cornerback Darrell Revis pointed to the Pro Football Hall of Fame on their first try. The new class also includes return finalists DeMarcus Ware, Zach Thomas, and Rondy Barber. Senior candidates Joe Klecko, Chuck Halley, and Ken Riley, along with coaching candidate Don Coryell, also voted into the hall. More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
Talk radio made in St. Louis.
Very excited for what you guys are doing for the St. Louis community.
For St. Louis. Relevant local talk.
Saying what we are thinking.
This is News Talk STL.
You guys are awesome. I love you. And it's a tremendous honor to be on the station.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Thanks for covering the local angle.
Come on, people. This is America.
We better open our eyes.
Really local, really good.
News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your first alert forecast. Clouds moving out, becoming sunny this afternoon. The high 45 degrees. Clear skies tonight will drop to 24. Sunshine on Saturday with a high of 47. And sunny again on Sunday, even warmer with a high of 56 degrees. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com.
Speaking of local music, it's a Perry Woods Friday, each and every Friday here on Colombo and Katie on News Talk STL 1019 94.1. We have Jason Nelson, our buddy from Somebody to Love, the Queen Tribute Band, in studio with us. We are going to talk to Jason here in just a moment about that great show and have a little Friday fun time. Katie, we've never needed Friday fun time more, I don't think, in our entire lives.
So true. So true. My goodness. Heavy
As
day.
we monitor everything that is happening in this crazy world of ours. But first, we need to get to the all-important weekend forecast. Steve Templeton, chief meteorologist over at Channel 4, like he does each and every Friday afternoon, joins us today to let us know what to expect this weekend. Steve, as always, thanks for your time this afternoon. How's it going?
My pleasure. I'm just glad not to add any craziness, at least weather-wise, this weekend. I'm going to stay away from it. You got enough crazy going on?
Right. No,
I'm not going to add to it. We got
no
great weather.
balloon in the sky, at least, like there was last Friday in St. Louis when we talked to you. So that's a step in the right direction, at least. So yeah, what can we expect tonight and through the weekend?
You know, it's not crazy, which is great. It's going to be a nice weekend for outdoor events. Here's what you need to know overall. Big picture. Cold mornings. Lows are going to dip into the 20s. But nice afternoons. Quick warm-ups with lots of sunshine. So, for instance, a low of 24 degrees tonight. But sunny skies, light winds, and a high of 47 Saturday afternoon. Not bad. Now, Sunday, a low of 27, but a lot of sunshine again, and a high of 56. Not too windy. It's going to be a great day for the pet parade in Soulard, or maybe the kids want to play some football in the yard before the big game comes Sunday evening. Travel on the roads is going to be fine. We are dry all through the weekend, so nice weekend coming our way.
Man, yeah, can't beat that whatsoever. And, you know, I always have to ask, because we're still it's still early February, so chances are always there. Do you see any chance of snow or any other big cold in the forecast, or are we okay at least for the time being?
Okay, it gets a little crazy next week.
All right. All right.
Oh, boy.
I don't have a big snowstorm at this point, but it does get a little crazy. So here's what I'm seeing. First of all, there's a good chance for rain on Valentine's. So it's not crazy, but there's going to be a few showers. So prepare for that. Valentine's Day's high is 52. We're going to be close to 70 on Wednesday. 68 is my high. It's breezy and dry. So what comes through on Valentine's Day and causes the rain is actually a warm front, and that's why Wednesday is so warm. Then comes the cold front. Rain likely on Thursday, falling temperatures, and then by Friday, a high of 37. So from Wednesday, near 70, to Friday, just a little bit above freezing.
Man.
We have a little bit of crazy weather coming next week.
Yeah, 37 standing alone doesn't sound that crazy.
No.
But on the heels of, especially, this time of year, but on the heels of 70, that's going to hurt.
Right. That's a great point. In fact, I have sunshine on Friday. So sunny and 37 doesn't sound like a crazy February day. But
no.
When 2 days earlier it's near 70,
yeah.
It is a little nuts.
Yeah,
but we'll go through the big roller coaster ride next week.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Well, I'll take it. You know what? That was, I'll take this weekend forecast. It's the first pretty calm, normal, positive story we've talked about today. So
It's been a really mild. It's been a really mild winter, hasn't it, Steve? To me, it feels like it's been such a mild winter. Like hardly any snow, hardly any frost.
Right. We got hit really hard right around Christmas time, and that was it. That was our main cold snap. January, I'm going to go off the top of my head. I think it was the 9th warmest January on record.
Yeah.
And, we're just too early into February to kind of figure it out at this point. But I have a feeling February is going to be one of top 10, top 20 type warmest if it continues on this path. Because even the weekend and, Sunday we're in the 50s, Wednesday we're near 70. I mean, that should all push the monthly temperature up. So, yeah, very mild so far. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, it definitely could be worse. That's for sure. Steve Templeton, thank you so much, as always, for keeping us informed on what's going on out there. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
You bet. That is Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton from KMOV Channel 4. A little bit different of a time today with the forecast, so thanks for hanging in there with us. If you want to make sure that you never miss anything that happens here on the show, just make sure you are subscribed to our podcast. We put the show out as a podcast shortly after we get off the air every single day. And we are everywhere on whatever your favorite podcast platform is. Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, many, many more. You can find the Colombo and Katie Show. So subscribe to the podcast and make sure that you never miss anything. And if you're watching on the Colombo and Katie YouTube channel or on Rumble or Facebook at News Talk STL's channels, you will see on the cameras that we do have a special guest in the studio with us. It is our buddy Jason Nelson from, I don't even know how to introduce you anymore. There's so many different projects. There's so many different ways to introduce you. This time, representing Somebody to Love, the Queen tribute band at the big show that's coming to town February 18th, next Saturday at Diamond Music Hall. I will be there again. I can't freaking wait. We just had a great party last weekend at Westport Playhouse with the Sting and Peter Gabriel tribute shows. So another great night of live music here in St. Louis.
Bringing the rock and roll. We're going to do 2 sets of Queen, 2 whole sets.
Yes.
So
2 sets, 1 big night.
we got some surprises.
Oh, fun.
Of course,
I
that's like a common thread every show.
Yes.
Some surprises. Again, if you've not seen Somebody to Love, a tribute to Queen, we have, of course, drums, bass, guitar, keys. I'm Freddie Mercury in that role.
Yes, you are.
Head to toe, Freddie Mercury.
Head
to toe.
I try my best. And what really differentiates our St. Louis-based Queen tribute is that we have 5 backing vocalists, and they just bring the catalog to life. Everything you hear on the record is replicated live.
It's so true, and anybody that has seen any of Jason Nelson's projects, any of the bands, the Retro Nerds, the various tribute acts, just the Jason Nelson band itself, the Queen tribute show, you know that it's not just about the musicianship. The music is top notch, as good as it gets. But also, there's so much more that goes into it with the lights and just the custom video show and digital show and lighting show that goes along with Retro Nerds gigs and Somebody to Love gigs and everything. Like, you guys really
Who would have thought that
a lot of
so much
effort into
deliberation would happen around costuming? It's so, it's not your typical cover band. I'll tell you that. It's a whole production.
It is.
Diamond Music Hall. If you've not been out there,
Dude.
in St. Peter's, wonderful venue. More than enough room to spread out. They have a capacity of 900, right? But they are capping the attendance at a level where you can have a table, you can sit down if you so choose, have a place to set your drink, and service is it's great.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because I was just about to make that similar point about, we had the show last week, and I posted videos from backstage, and obviously had you guys in a couple weeks ago promoting the show at Westport Plaza with the Retro Nerds and the Sting and Peter Gabriel tribute. And now we've got Somebody to Love at Diamond Music Hall next Saturday on the 18th. And talk about two awesome venues that we have here in the St. Louis area, open and available to the public and also to you guys, the people in our music scene, in the music industry, the local music industry, have these great venues that, and for Diamond Music Hall's a fairly new venue. Westport Plaza just reopened. So great sign that the industry, especially here in St. Louis, the local music industry is growing and is on fire.
I was struck last weekend when we completed the show and said our goodbyes on stage, and then immediately engaged with the crowd, shaking hands and hugs, and friends and family were in the crowd. And you can do that. We're approachable. The St. Louis musician community, we want to make that connection with people that spend the time and the money to come out and see live music. It's again, back in full force.
Yeah.
These venues they're doing great, and they're ready.
Jason, can I tell you that so we had you guys playing, obviously, for our birthday party, and my God.
At Diamond Music Hall.
At Diamond Music Hall. I mean, like you guys said, there is endless things to say about Diamond Music Hall. The first thing I have to say is it's in St. Charles, which holla freaking luya. Thank God there is something amazing like that in St. Charles.
Out there,
So awesome. But there were a comment specifically about your band, even though you're part of numerous bands, but about you and your talent and the band and everything, is that the energy...
Oh my gosh.
The energy is electric. From the minute you guys walk on until the minute that the show ends, you guys are on 10. And I wonder, because I'm someone usually on 10, but there's also
OMG. Right, Katie?
it diminishes and diminishes the day goes on. Jason.
The Jason Nelson Band played at a venue in Illinois last night. And after the first set, the manager of the establishment came up to me and he's like, "You guys sound great. Wow, Thursday night, you're amped up."
How? That is my question.
I can understand on a Saturday night, you're really, but Thursday, wow.
Our birthday was a Wednesday or a Tuesday.
Tuesday.
It was a Tuesday. Jason, I don't even think I saw you break a sweat, but you were the most energetic person I've ever seen in my life.
Everybody, all my friends and family know that is not the case. I am a sweaty beast.
Okay.
Anyway.
But the energy level never dips, and I imagine it has to do with the feedback that you're getting from the audience, and just the joy of being on stage.
And the fellowship of the people I'm with on stage. It's a caliber that you're just compelled
That's awesome.
To do better.
Well, as I mentioned, I'm going to be there as well. I hope to see everybody there. It's next Saturday, February 18th, be clear, February 18th at Diamond Music Hall. Somebody Love, the Queen Tribute Show. If you like rock and roll, if you like live music, if you like Queen, you cannot miss this show. It's sponsored by our friends at Weber Chevrolet, which is, awesome as well. And it's just going to be a great night of live music out there at Diamond Music Hall. Best place to get tickets and information?
DiamondMusicHall.com.
DiamondMusicHall.com. It's going to be awesome. And this coming Thursday, at about this time, actually, on Colombo and Katie, you guys will be playing live in studio with us.
I will be.
That is fantastic.
Singing for my supper.
So we'll get a little taste,
Yes,
little preview of that show this coming Thursday here on Colombo and Katie. So definitely looking forward to that. Got a few minutes left here before we turn things over to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Of course, there is a whole lot going on in this crazy world. There was another object initially reported as a balloon, but quickly turned into an object officially, shot down over Alaskan territorial waters by the United States military just this afternoon. Reports broke just a couple of hours ago. We will get you the full update on that. Katie and I covered that with Christian Day Talk live at the White House in the last hour. Like I said, if you missed that, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Tim and Chris will get you up to speed on all of that great stuff, but we always like to end the show on a Friday, Katie, with a little Friday fun time. And Jason, if you can stick around for a little Friday fun time, we would really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right. So these are, these are real stories. So they're, sometimes you could, I say it's fun time, but sometimes these are important to people's lives. For example, what do you make of this? Chick-fil-A is about to introduce a new sandwich. You want to take a guess at what kind of sandwich it is? It's not chicken.
Oh, it's not chicken.
A cheeseburger.
No, it better not be.
Dude, that is the thing that everybody's waiting for.
It better
the
not.
Chick-fil-A cheeseburger. But their whole thing with the cows, they can't do it, right?
Yes.
But yeah.
That's their whole thing.
One day, I bet you it's not a cheeseburger. It's not a cheeseburger. It's a cauliflower sandwich.
Okay.
All right.
Oh,
Throw
no.
some buffalo
Jason,
sauce
don't
on
you dare
that.
say you like a cauliflower.
I'm not
sandwich.
opposed to the
No.
cauliflower.
No. Don't you dare, Jason.
It's the patty. They say that the patty isn't ground up cauliflower that's been molded into a patty. It's a full chunk of marinated.
No.
Full chunk of marinated cauliflower.
Not full chunk.
Full chunk.
I can't
Not
stand it. Just a
reformed.
giant freaking
Chunk.
cauliflower with
the bun.
Throw some cheese on that.
You know, Jason, you better
could get-
say no with me.
You could get buffalo sauce. You
Oh.
could get it breaded.
This is the worst. This is the worst. This cannot
Not
be
going to
true.
be ordering the Chick-fil-A.
Every gastropub in St. Louis has this.
Do they really?
Oh, yeah. You know this.
It's
It's like a delicacy.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that I'm like, you're not going to Chick-fil-A for the cauliflower
No, you're not.
sandwich. You're going there for their
that chicken.
amazing chicken.
It's delicious.
God, I things like that, it just makes me my blood
I feel that
boil.
way about all of them. I feel the way
Same.
about all of the fast food restaurants. Like McDonald's. McDonald's should sell burgers and fries.
Stick with it.
They should sell burgers and and nuggets.
Nuggets,
Come
and
on, come on.
nuggets.
Okay, nuggets. Come on,
You
guys.
gotta- you gotta do the nuggets.
And
Ray
fish
Kroc
sandwiches,
would
whatever.
agree.
Like you can
And
have.
okay, and the McRib. Come on, let's
You
just
can have that stuff, but you don't need to be able to get like Cobb salad
I
at
agree.
McDonald's.
Yes,
Stick to what you're good at.
Right.
That's what people
the greasy burger.
that's what people want to see. And if you want to go to Chick-fil-A, you want the best chicken sandwich that there is in fast food, which is, in my opinion, the Chick-fil-A sandwich. Speaking of McDonald's, a survey was done about talking to American singles. McDonald's was voted as the second worst place for a first date.
You know what?
My.
I have to say this.
Here we go.
McDonald's used to be the place, okay?
You were okay with a first date at McDonald's?
No, okay. Not if we're saying first date's going to be in our 20s, like our mid-20s.
I was going to say, Katie.
But if I were 16 and I didn't
Yeah.
really have a job and this other person didn't have a job and they're like, let's go to McDonald's or Wendy's or something, I'd
Come
be
on,
like,
Kate. Come on, Tony. Growing up,
okay. There used to
I
be
was a
ball
mall
pit.
rat.
No.
I was a mall rat.
Yeah, absolutely. But you don't take somebody to McDonald's on a first
Take
Well,
them to Sbarro's.
that was when I was 13.
Second
mall.
worst. You want to guess? You want to know what the worst is? You know what's worse than taking somebody to McDonald's on a first date?
What?
Taking them to the movies.
No, that cannot be worse.
The
than
movies.
I love the movies.
Isn't that's like the most, maybe that's why it's considered to be the worst, because it's the most cliche. It beat McDonald's. 20% of people who took this survey said the worst first date is going to the movies. Ahead of everything else by far.
I would like to see this data, please.
I think that used to be like one of my favorite first dates because you didn't really have to talk. Like, you know, like if you were like a little bit nervous about the first date, or if you're like, oh my God, what am I going to say? Am I going to sound stupid? Or like, what if there's like awkward breaks in between the conversation?
Yeah, it eliminates that.
It was like, oh, let's go to the movies.
Best date.
It doesn't say. It's only worst dates. It's only.
Let's look at the other side of this
I
coin
tried.
here.
I looked.
I
was hoping they did that,
date.
but they do not. They do not say the rest. I can round out the top 5 for you.
Yes.
Number 1, worst first date is going to the movies. Number 2 is going to McDonald's. Number 3 is staying home. Number 4 is going to your parents' house.
Okay, yeah, no, not that one. Not that
And
one.
number 5 is just going to a restaurant in general.
I can get with not taking them to your parents' house. Definitely can, like, what the heck are you doing? I can probably even get with staying home. Like, if we're going on a date, like, let's go out to get coffee or drinks or something like that. But maybe even McDonald's. But McDonald's at a certain age limit is totally appropriate for a first date. But the movies
Up
and
to
the restaurant,
16.
yes.
Yeah.
The movies and the restaurant, I can't get down with that. That list is BS.
It surprised me, to say the least. That is going to just about do it for us. Before we go, I need to remind you, especially while we're talking about great events, don't forget about our event, Defending America, telling the stories we shouldn't tell, with Dakota Wood and former United States Senator Jim Talent, happening March 4th out at View 17th. Tickets are free for this event, hosted by our very own Tim Jones and Chris Arps. It's all brought to you by the Hammond Institute at Lindenwood University, but you have to reserve your seats, and they are going fast. We are well over halfway gone, probably a lot closer to 3/4 of the way gone.
Yeah.
So if you want to join us on March 14th for this great event, make sure you go to newstalkstl.com and reserve your free seats immediately. Jason Nelson, thank you so much for being here. We will all be there next Saturday night at Diamond Music Hall for Somebody to Love, the tribute to Queen. Get those tickets ASAP at diamondmusichall.com, and that is going to be another great night of rock and roll. Really appreciate you coming in today. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks, Katie.
All right, time to hand things over to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. Make sure you subscribe to the Colombo and Katie podcast so you never miss anything that happens here on this show. We'll be back Monday at 2 o'clock, and Tim and Chris will get you through the rest of your Friday afternoon. Thank you so much for listening to us and supporting us here at 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Colombo and Katie, St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
What citizen wouldn't want to make America great again?
Live and local.
And their leadership has been substandard.
I think the word substandard is immensely polite.
This is News Talk STL. This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
There's an interesting development involving that China balloon that flew all across our country. It came out in a CBS News national security correspondent David Martin interview with Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. And Martin asked him, so you didn't know really what the balloon was looking for, but you were concerned about it. What did you do? Well, the general said, well, we buttoned down all